Thank you for being here. Second episode of That's a Shame, where it exists exclusively on YouTube. To those of you who took part in the last one, liked, commented, watched in secret, I appreciate you. You're in on the ground floor of this thing. The ground floor of what will one day be a skyscraper. I'm sick of existing in this purgatory of mediocrity on this platform of social media. To help me build this thing up brick by brick, hit the like button. I'd love 100 likes on this episode. Subscribe if you're not. Comment. Doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Tell me that the episode made your tip wiggle, and that'll be fine. Now diving right into it. I got to talk about the NBA playoffs for a second. These playoffs have been phenomenal. They were better when the Knicks were involved, but that's all right. 99% of our team had zero playoff experience. We took it to where we needed to take it to, and now we'll be ready for next year. But what I have noticed is that during the regular season, you see a lot of female NBA referees, and they're just as good as the male referees. I'm a little bit worried about the players being able to get calls their way due to their level of swagger and charisma, because it's only human nature when sex is on the table. Granted, you got male refs, gambling on the games and determining outcomes in that realm. But it's still a concern. But what's funny to me is that in the playoffs, you see no female refs. It's very funny that it's obvious the NBA is like, yeah, we'll let women in, but not when it matters. Come on in. We're progressive. We're inclusive. Get in here and be a part of the team. Except for when everything's on the line. And I'm not even saying they, should or shouldn't be. The NBA is lucky that I don't have courtside seat money, because I would have murdered a ref during the Knicks series with the Heat. They're bad at their jobs too. Women couldn't be any worse, other than the fact that they would definitely are banging. But some of the female refs are attractive, dude. And why wouldn't they be banging the players? If you're a female ref at the NBA level, you clearly have a love for the game of basketball, which means you have a love for the people who play it, which means you would definitely be down to a millionaire NBA superstar, which will then lead to you having a little bit of bias when it comes to calling a foul for or against them. Don't you think? It's a slippery slope. I mean, what are they doing in the WNBA? I'm not going to pretend that I've watched a second of that, but it seems like everybody's lesbians over there. And fucking, if there's anything I know or have observed with the gays, it's that everybody's. I don't think I've ever met a gay person who was reserved about their sexuality or their sexual prowess. They're all just out there, loving every minute of it. I mean, that's what, it's the whole stereotype behind Grindr. This is just a fest. Granted, Tinder and all these other things are as well, but I think there's far less effort going in to getting laid on Grindr than even Tinder, which is it's the Autobahn of banging for straight people. But Grindr is like, I guess the Autobahn for the banging of gay people, except nobody has cars over there. They're all in fighter jets, moving quick. Speaking of sexual things, I was literally in the kitchen cooking a steak, and my wife calls me into the bedroom and she goes, "Do you know about ghetto gaggers? Do you watch ghetto gaggers?" I've never been more not expecting a question in my entire life. I was like, why are you even asking me that? Just answer the question. Do you watch it? Clearly you know about it, but do you watch it? I've seen a clip or two. It's not for me. Am I a face guy? Sure. Who isn't? It's basically kissing in 2023. But that site for me doesn't do it. It's like a dude who looks like it's like an old decrepit man who looks like he resides in the back of a fucking McDonald's dumpster, degrading women. It's not necessarily for me. And she's asking me this because apparently Taylor Swift's in a world of trouble where she's dating a dude who outwardly and publicly acknowledges that he watches that website. And I'm like, all right, but it doesn't, first of all, Taylor Swift is never going to get canceled. She could put another tour out on sale and it would sell out in under a minute. Also, all right, a guy likes double G. What are you going to do about it? And then my wife was like, yeah, well, he also apparently goes on stage and does the old German salute that a guy whose name rhymes with Switler used to do. And then I changed my tune a little bit because that plus double G is an equation that adds up to a little something funny. You can't be doing the Heil and also watching minorities get degraded by what looks like kind of a raggedy German man and not raise a few questions. T Swift's money is going to be fine. Her ticket sales will be fine, but she might be looking at a new boyfriend in the near future here. Also, I just can't imagine T Swift is a person who's filling the need of somebody who gets off to double G. I don't have much money, but if I could take all of it out and place it on Taylor Swift not being in to getting skull-fooked, I would do it. And Taylor Swift seems like she gives head by kissing the tip of your piece and saying, K, I'm done. And maybe it's just a testament to her and her PR team. Maybe she's filth. Sometimes the people you least expect it from are the dirtiest. But also sometimes some of the people you assume are filthy are filthy. And it's obvious that you can judge a book by its cover. But she looks like she makes dudes keep their boxers on while they bang. Let's have sex, but could you pull your piece through your fly, put a condom on, and then bang me while I keep a baggy sweatshirt on? That's the vibe I get from T Swifty. Also, you can't really judge a dude based on what he watches porn websites. We become completely different human beings when we do that. I'm not sure women are aware of how affected the male brain is by horniness. When I'm watching porn, most of the time I will think, I should maybe get into this. Maybe develop a little bit of a fan base if you're good at it. Could maybe translate to ticket sales and stand up. I don't know. And if it doesn't, oh well, you're still banging chicks for money. It's kind of nice. And then the juxtaposition of that from when you finish is astounding. I'll be thinking that, release, and then I'll be like, oh, I should call my mom more often. Also, I'm married. Also, this is a thought I've had. Clit is such an aggressive word. Clit should be the cunt of female genitalia insults. I find clit far more offensive than cunt. If someone called me a dirty clit, I'd be mortified. I'd leave wherever I was immediately. Someone calls me a cunt, I'm like, you're right, I am a man. This is a sex-heavy episode, I apologize. Let's talk about something more wholesome. My kid had his christening the other day, and we don't go to church often, but obviously our parents are still alive, so we got to do these things. And my wife is spiritual, you know. And, dude, whenever any prayers begin to be said by more than like two people in a room, it's so obvious that it's a cult. It couldn't feel more like we are all brainwashed in this moment. Religion is so funny, dude. I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school for a little bit. Dude, one of my earlier jokes that I guess, feels kind of hacky was, and has got to have been said before, but I was like, is that why they call these kids altar boys? Because when they eventually get touched, their lives will be altered dramatically. I never got touched though. But my grandfather, he was the most religious guy of all time. He would babysit me. He'd take me to church like on its off hours just to examine and tour the space. I had to memorize the stations of the cross. He'd make me recite them. We'd start at one and we'd go around the church and I had to tell him what each station was. And if you don't know what the stations of the cross are, it's the stages in which Jesus was brutally murdered. Only in religion would having an 8-year-old memorize the stages of a heinous homicide and be like, this will make him a more well-adjusted, caring, rational individual. I'm not even kidding. I remember vividly the movie Passion of the Christ came out. I was still like, 13, 14. I tried to go to the theaters to see it and they wouldn't let me in because I was underage. I was like, the fucking main character of this movie? Every Sunday I eat his body and drink his blood. Feel like I can handle this motion picture. And the level of logic that did not exist in that moment turned me off from the whole thing. I've learned that there's a thin line between doing something nice for your woman and creating a problem in the future. I bought a waterproof notepad that suction cups to the wall in the shower. Because there's something about warm water hitting me softly that gets the juices flowing. I like to write. But what I started doing was I would take a shower and I'd leave, cute little notes for my lady in there so that when she got in there, she'd see them. Just something like, my love for you is as fat as your cans. And I did that for a couple weeks. It was nice. And then, I kind of slowed down with it. And then one night she asked me if I wanted to go out with her friends for a cheese night. And I said no. And she said, do you even love me anymore? And I was like, that was a hell of a leap. But yeah, I still love you, believe it or not. And then she said, well, when was the last time you left me a note? In the shower. You don't get to get mad at me for not doing a thing you didn't even know existed until I brought it into your life. I do a nice thing for 2 weeks. Now every time I take a shower for the rest of my life, I got to come up with something to say to you? That's insane. Now anytime I think about doing something nice to her, I fucking think twice. Looking at diamond necklaces together, I'm like, I don't know. I think I see where this is going. If I don't get her another fucking diamond something every 2 weeks, she thinks I want a divorce. Maybe I'll stick to sapphires from here on out. Also, what is it about being in the car with your woman that makes them want to say, what are you thinking? Every time I'm in the car without fail, what are you thinking about, babe? I'll tell you what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about how if I wanted to tell you what I was thinking about, I'd be saying it. That's the whole point of thinking. I've deemed what I'm thinking not worthy of saying to you. You know what I've also noticed? I can tell where I'm at mentally based on the music that's getting me hyped when I work out. If I'm listening to hip hop or rock and roll or something like that and it's getting me to have a good workout, I'm like, all right, I'm feeling good. I'm in a good space mentally. We're vibing right now. But sometimes I'll catch myself moving weight to sad shit. Sometimes I'll catch myself just bench pressing to children get older. And I'll sit up after the set and I'll be like, oh shit, I'm in a dark place right now. If Landslide by Fleetwood Mac is unlocking your adrenaline, you should see a therapist.
That's a joke.